Hello and welcome to the Lost Pines Workshop. I'm J.C. Jensen. This is Build a Classic Dresser, Episode 14, Drawer Construction. So in Episode 13, I sized up the backs, the drawer backs and the sides. I'm going to start this one off with sizing up the drawer faces. Now you can, if you size the backs precisely tight fit in the beginning, you can use that as the template to cut your faces. I've just chosen to do it a little different this time. And then a note about when's a good time to do drawers, or the best time to do drawers. Well, it is the end of May here in Central Texas. Average humidity here in the summer. Well, right now it's this morning it's 88%, which 60 to 80 is pretty common here in Central Texas. So it's a good time to build drawers because as I process the wood and now let it reach equilibrium, i.e. the amount of moisture it is going to hold, it's kind of at its maximum. So in the wintertime, as the humidity drops, our wood will shrink a little bit, right? A little smoother operation, but it won't swell any farther than it is, causing a drawer to stick. So right now, I'm sizing that accordingly. So for the fronts, as I fit these in, I have a snug fit. You can see I'm having to work a little bit to get it back out, right? So I have a nice clean fit, nice and tight all the way around, and I'm using the same technique to size the fronts that I did on the back. So I started on this one, I started by fitting it top and bottom. I squared this end, same as I did with the sides and the back. And now I'm ready to mark it, the length on this end, and I'll take a little off on the sled, and then I'll finish it off with my hand plane on the shooting board. Groovy. So I'll do this and the next three. Okay, so in fitting or sizing your parts for your drawers, ideally, you want that air cushion close fit, right? Your sides, when you fit your sides, is for thickness. You want them to fit the same way that our drawer front and our back did. My parts worked out; they're all going to be short, even especially down here the bottom three. They're a full inch short. So I'm not going to get that cushion of air poof when I close my drawers, but that's okay. I'm working with that. All right. So with that, we plane the face, it's nice and smooth, it's ready to go. And originally I had planed this bottom edge, if you'll recall. Now I'll take you over here and I'll show you something that's important about your bottom edge. See how this rotates in the middle, right through here? That means there's a high spot here, and we don't want that because that's going to cause our drawer to want to rock, right? So we want it to be flat. So we'll take it over to the shooting board and we'll knock that high spot out of there so that when it's done, when you have it flat, it pivots like this on our flat surface. So it's the two ends. Right on? So that's what we're looking for. Now I'll go over to the shooting board and I'll show you how I correct that so that it rotates like the other one. All right, so here at the shooting board, I've got it laid out, and my pivot point was about right through here. I've got my blade set relatively light. Back it up here. And what I'm going to do is kind of feather. You can see, rotate this over here. I'll start out flat and then rotate the plane away where I think that high spot is. All right. Then I'll take it and I'll check it. And if I've gotten rid of it, then I'll remove the transition piece or the transition by taking a couple of full complete passes. Now, if you're doing this with a set, you can oftentimes say use the setting of your table saw. You do one, and then you can use that setting of your table saw to cut the second side. And then when you're planing the bottom edge, you count the number of strokes or the number of passes it took to flatten one and use the same number on the other one so that they come out identical. The more time you spend, I won't say, I guess time is time is the right word. The more accurate you are with the fit and finish of your pieces, the more success you will have in joining your drawer pieces together. All right, so I'm going to start by feathering. Get this high spot out. I'll just take a couple of passes. Oop. Come on, get out of there. Like so. And it's going to leave, it won't leave a big sticker, but I can feel, just very, very light, I can feel the transition. So I'll take it over and I'll check it. A little bit more right about there. I've almost got it out. I just feathered it right the last couple inches. Yeah, I can live with that. All right, so now I'll make one more finish pass. To get rid of any transition mark. I get a full clean cut all the way through. Okay, so now I'm going to do this, the edges, make sure they're perfectly square to the bottom edge. So for me, this is my bottom edge, which is now my reference edge, and my reference face being the inside is down. I'm going to flip it over, put a slight bevel here on the bottom edge so I don't blow it out. Flip it over and just make a couple of light passes here on the end, making sure everything is nice and tight. A little bit more. One more blade, I think. And that's perfectly flat. Nice. And I can verify that with my square. Square. I'm square all the way through. Square on this end. Nice and flat. Now, from here I would cut this edge, the length, and flip it over and do the same thing. All right, so I typically start my drawer construction just like this. All right, so here's the front, the drawer back, and the two sides. As part of the fitting process for the sides, I try to pay attention to grain direction. I like to have my grain oriented so that when I plane this surface, I'm planing front to back, because we're going to plane this, the exterior of this after the dovetails are cut and the drawer is assembled. We're going to be planing these sides. So if I can maintain that grain orientation, any tear out that I may have will be on the back. I don't have to worry about trying to plane up the front and ripping out, having any tear out here in the front where it will be seen. So I pay, attention to that, and then I label everything accordingly. So obviously I've got the front, I've got the back. When I fit the back, I just use some stickies, letting me know that this piece is the top left drawer back, the stickies on the inside, and which end is the bottom, because on the shooting board and for assembly, this bottom edge was my reference surface. Right, so that's how I've done that so far. So now what I'm going to do, since I have this box ready to go, I'm simply going to annotate on here with an arrow up here in the front corner, arrow direction, meaning that's the direction that's going to go, and I'm going to put an LS for left side, and then I'll do the same thing on this, arrow right side. And then I've already got the back and the front are taken care of. So the next thing I'm going to do prior to doing the layout for my dovetails is I'm going to go ahead and plane these inside so they're finished. Because trying to sand or finish, or obviously you can't plane anything once it's assembled, I want the insides to be finished, and I'm just going to accomplish that with my hand plane. And that's done. So good sharp blade on this planer, this hand plane, and that is smoother than you're going to get with sandpaper. First set of drawer pieces all laid out, and so the next step is going to be cutting the groove in the sides and in the front. Not going to cut the one in the back because we'll be actually cutting it off to slide the drawer bottom in. All right, it's a little different approach. So for my drawer bottoms on this set of drawers, I'm just going to go with a quarter inch thick bottom. I haven't quite decided my material yet. I'll get to that. It's going to be a while before I get these boxes done. But I do know it's only going to be a quarter inch thick, even on the big drawers, because the big drawers I'm actually going to put a center divider in. So I'll have two small panels rather than one large one, which will help with weight distribution using that thin panel. So a quarter inch panel will be fine. Next is, so I've determined the thickness of the panel. Where am I going to place it from the bottom? Well, from the bottom edge, I like to leave about 3/8 of an inch, especially with those big drawers, the big heavy ones. May have a lot of weight in them. So I want to make sure there's plenty of material down here at the bottom to support that drawer bottom. So that's what I'm actually going to do next, is go over to, I'm going to use a router table with a 1/4 inch straight bit and just hog out the groove for the drawer bottoms. You could use your table saw for this. You could use a router plane for this. There's a hand plane that's made specifically for this task, but I don't own one of those. I may get one in the future, we'll see. But for this exercise, for this project, I'm going to just use my router. I'm going to route that out. The next thing I'm going to do, or what I've already done, is determine on the front how much, we're doing half blind dovetails, how much of the reveal, you can see my line here, how much material do I want? Well, I'm using cherry. My other cabinets, and I often do it in walnut. I can leave about an 1/8 of an inch reveal here. This is cherry. It's a little softer, so I went with let's see, eighth and a smidge, a 32nd over an eighth, however many 30 seconds that is. I think of that off the top of my head. But that's what I decided to go with, and I drew with my marking gauge. Marked that in. I marked both ends. All right. With that, set my marking gauge, and it's still here and it's locked in place. The two sides, lightly mark the outside, mark the end, mark the inside, mark the bottom. Be going all the way around. This is the tailboard. I did the same thing on the back end. I'm going to use the same depth on the back as I am the front, even though my back is thinner than my overlay. Did that on both sides. Once I have that marked out, I used my shoulder plane to give a little rebate along this edge. All right, and this is going to help me when we go to cut the pin boards of the half blind. Not doing it on the back end. These are through dovetails, so we'll just go with those as normal. No big issue. All right, so that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I'm going to set up my router table and we'll buzz these the groove out for the drawer bottoms, and then we'll come back in and I'll show you how I did determine the layout for my tails. Now over here at the router table, I've got this all set. So I set the fence at 3/8 of an inch to the highest point on the back side of the blade, or the back side of the bit. And I set my height initially at 1/8 of an inch. I could probably get away with go ahead and doing it in one pass, but I've chosen to do it two because the 1/4 inch, I'm using with the 1/4 inch bit's got a 1/4 inch shank on it, and those things are really they're small and they're brittle, and this thing's cranking, you know, roughly 10,000 RPM, and I've had some of those break in the past. I don't want to do that's just no fun. So I'm going to do it in two passes, an 1/8 inch at a time. Now I've got my three pieces here, the front and the two sides, and on the inside where the groove goes, I simply put an X to identify where it's go, so as I process it, I don't put the groove in the wrong place. Right? All right, let me crank this up. So why did I do the groove, cut the groove before laying out dovetails? Well, here you can see why. So on this set of tails I've already calculated and laid out. I want this groove to land in the center or inside of the tail. On a through dovetail, well, any dovetail, we want to make sure that it's landing in the center of the tail so that it doesn't interfere or mess up the pins, because they're small enough as it is. All right. Okay, so with the drawer parts prepared, next up is laying out our tail boards. For that, I'll start with, I think we're going to start on the bottom one and work my way up rather than the top down. So if you like my videos, please remember to hit that like button and think about subscribing. We'll see you down the road.